Welcome back to Hardball. People are starting to arrive at the East Wing of the White House, down to the East Room, in fact, where at the top of the hour, if not sooner, President Trump will reveal his pick for the Supreme Court. Then the question becomes, how much resistance will the Democrats put up? Will they filibuster the nominee, and will that work? Or will there be a nuclear option that takes away the filibuster? Joining me right now is U.S. Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts. Congressman Markey, give us a sense as you look at it, the stakes, first of all, the stakes, and secondly, how's this going to be decided? By filibuster, by simple majority, by what?
Well, the stakes are high. The Republicans in the Senate decided last year that they wouldn't even give a hearing to Merrick Garland. So they essentially stole a Supreme Court seat from President Barack Obama. And so Donald Trump now has a chance to nominate someone to the Supreme Court, and that nominee has to be within the mainstream of constitutional history in our country. That person cannot have been taking litmus tests of votes that he's going to cast, remembering that Donald Trump said that he's going to appoint people who are going to be very, very conservative on the far end of the ideological spectrum. So we're going to give anyone the closest scrutiny that any nominee in our country's history has ever been given.
What about the Hobby Lobby case that Neil Gorsuch was on the other side of, where he said that if someone owns a business that has a religious commitment of some kind, not a religious order or even a religious affiliation, simply has a religious belief, they can stop giving their women under Obamacare birth control? I mean, is that a mainstream, outside of mainstream situation for you?
Well, I don't know who's going to be nominated, but I do know this, that Donald Trump has made it very clear he's going to name someone who is going to cut back dramatically on the reproductive rights of women in our country. That case fits squarely within that category. But remember, Roe v. Wade and other very important cases that go right to the heart of a woman's right to choose are going to be potentially up before the Supreme Court in the near future. So Hobby Lobby, Roe v. Wade, we can go down the entire list, but this one decision that the president makes, the most important decision which he can make, with the exception of putting the United States at war, is not something that the Democrats are going to allow to go through without the closest possible scrutiny.
What are your assets here? Can you demand a 60-vote plurality? A majority? Can you demand that and make it stick?
The history of the Senate is that there is a 60-vote threshold for the confirmation of a Supreme Court nominee. The Democrats intend on holding the Republicans to that historical standard. Donald Trump has already said that if we don't act quickly, that he's going to ask the Senate to change its rules and bring it down to just a bare majority. If the Senate Republicans decide to do that, if they decide to, in fact, use the nuclear option, then I'm afraid there's going to be a fundamental change in the United States Senate that will invoke the law of unintended consequences, not just for this Congress, but for Congresses to come. It would be such a dramatic change with history.
We live in uncertain times. Thank you very much, Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts. Up next, the future of the Supreme Court. If Trump gets more picks, he could turn this court solidly right for a generation. Just think about it. There's some very old judges right now in the Supreme Court. If 3 of them leave, it could be 7-2 by the time Trump's gone. You're watching Hardball, 7-2 on the right. You're watching Hardball, where the action is.